go from here?
So I think this is really a continuation of the stories that Ben has revolving around the 2CV. Should be a lot of fun. You can ask any questions you have, and with that, we'll turn it over to Ben.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I'll tell you what. I had a request to talk about when my hood flew open, which was actually 3 years ago. But you know, we'll just go down that path for a minute. On my way back from Rendezvous in 2021, I was like 20 miles from home, and we were towing my 2CV, and I looked at the rearview mirror, and my hood was flopping in the air. Not a good time. And you know, the thing about a 2CV hood, it's relatively big, but it's relatively light, and it's very flimsy. How many of you think that you can just go buy a 2CV hood? Raise your hand if you think you know where to buy a 2CV hood. Just raise your hand. Where would you buy a 2CV hood, Mr. Steven Rabatovich?
Go to France.
That's about what I did, except for I didn't go to France personally. I should have, though. It would have been a lot easier in the grand scheme of things, wouldn't it? And, you know, what you'll find when you try to buy a hood for a 2CV, people always say, oh, I had like 100 different people say, why don't you just call Kenji? Well, I called Kenji. Call Brad Noss, which I almost did. He's lucky. And see, you were still living that pre-Brad Noss life.
I was living the dream, baby.
You don't even freaking know. I want to point something out. Even in France, it wouldn't be as easy as you think. Because let's look at Franzosa, which is in Germany. Oh, there's a hood. Awesome. Reproduction. Excellent. But what does it say right there?
Will not ship.
A dispatch of the bonnet is not possible. Well, let's go to Burton. Everybody likes Burton. Everybody's like, oh, Burton's great. They ship start parts so fast. We can get them like I order them yesterday. I think about parts. They just show up. It's incredible. Well, now it doesn't want to work, but it said it would not ship anywhere. So you get the idea.
Will not ship to the United States.
Well, no, they won't ship them anywhere.
How about Canada?
They will not ship a hood.
Okay.
Here's ECOS, which is the #1 British 2CV part supplier, with an exclamation mark no less. We cannot ship this anywhere. So, and I mean, most of you know enough about me to know that I'm a little neurotic and a little crazy, and I've pulled off some rather incredible stunts. I've got a windshield at home for a lot of Neva that came from Slovakia via New Jersey. People say, oh, I can't ship. You can ship anything if you're stupid and crazy enough.
And if you're his friend and you want to pick it up.
So that means you got it shipped, right?
Well, I've done that before too, yeah. You did too. So there's my new bonnet, my new hood, if you will. I got it from, I wore a hat. You buy enough stuff, they give you a hat. Got it from Fitzpatrick Garage in Quebec. He got it from Cassis in a container. And I mean, from the moment my hood flew open, the moment, sweet, I'm done, I'm able to drive my car again. It took just under a year. So, you know, I've often thought I should buy another hood just to have it. Because, you know, I've actually had 3 hoods on my car in the time since I've owned it. Because the first one got destroyed by a deer. The second one, this is crazy. I bought a 2CV for parts in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. That was even the same color as mine. That was like the stars aligning, and everything was good for like 15 years until it wasn't. So, you know, just a few pictures of it getting fixed. And I got new fenders. And see, the secret to success is make sure you mark up the cost of your hood so that you can buy fenders. See how that works? See how that works? So there it was, all back together. Put some new parts on it. You put a new Vietnamese stainless steel bumper on it, new headlights. It was amazing. From like the windshield forward, it was like a brand new car. From the thing back, yeah, it wasn't so good. But whatever. And by the way, there's my dog Lucy enjoying my 2CV. I thought you were enjoying my dog. So we'll get back to the nitty gritty of what we're doing. So, like I said, on my way back last year, how many of you saw my presentation last year? Raise your hands. Yay! You came back for more. So on my way back, I was already in Monroe, Michigan, so I'm like an hour and a half from home. And we're driving down the road, talking to my mother-in-law on the phone. She was hanging out on the phone, by the way. All of a sudden, I hear a "Eek!" and I look in the rear view mirror and I see headlights coming at me fast. And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm already at full throttle, so you know, if I was in a normal, if I was like in like my Buick or something, I'd probably just done it and I could have gotten out of it. But there was nothing I could do. So all of a sudden, and we pull over, and this chick's driving a Ford Focus. I later figured out she's about 28 years old because I looked at the insurance paperwork, and she's like, "Seriously, it's just a tail light." As you can see, it's all caved in. So, you know, the bill to fix that adventure was about $4,500 US. And my friends at American Modern Insurance, they sent me a check post haste. But I'm like, I'll get it fixed after the rendezvous. What could possibly happen? You know, because here's the thing. 10 years ago this year at the rendezvous, my car tried to start on fire. But I did it better last year. It took 9 years, but I finally got a good fire, good solid fire.
And back up and tell them what the cop asked you after the rear end.
Well, this isn't over $1,000 worth of damage, is it? That's what he said. And he's like, "Oh, it's just a tail light." Yeah, no.
He didn't want to write the report.
And he didn't want to write a report. So let's fast forward to last year, Syracuse, New York. I was just, you know, in the store, just put gas in my car, you know, getting some Gatorade, and all of a sudden, I look out the window. The car is moving by itself because the starter's going. You know, and all of a sudden there's smoke and there's fire, and I burn my hands opening the hood. And, you know, have I ever traveled with a fire extinguisher? Heck no. Didn't need one. Gas station had one. So put it out. People are like, "Oh no, what happened?" Well, I'll never know what happened because the reality is, well, there's my new hood, as you can see, that kind of had a little bit of hard time. Obviously, something shorted out between the battery and the starter.
That's the new hood?
Yes.
Melted.
It's not melted; it's just blistered. Well, don't worry. There's more. It's fine. It's already painted. And I'm gonna throw this out there. If you think you're cool because you backfire, you're a dumbass.
Amen.
Oh, I'm so cool. Ooh, I'm a Fort fan. Yeah. So, you know, actually 90% of what fueled the fire. How many of you are familiar with a late Model 2 CV underhood? I know you are. Because what should be hooked up to that hose right there? Wire. No, the hose, air cleaner. Well, the air cleaner is gone because it no longer exists. So that, you know, that's where I believe 90% of the actual fire was. There's oil and there's plastic and there's foam. But that little metal ring you can sit in there is what's left of the actual air filter element. So it all burned. And what to me is really scary about this is what if it had happened while I was going down the road? That fire would come straight at me. And everybody always tells me, you should have a battery cutoff switch. Well, guess what? The moment I flipped on a battery cutoff switch, whatever was shorting out would have just had juice. It might have delayed the inevitable, but it was going to happen. So one thing I'm going to do in the future, maybe you've ever heard of a blaze cut? It's basically like a plastic tube that has fire repellent in it under pressure. And how it works, if it gets over 300 degrees, it melts, and the stuff just shoots. I'm going to get mounted underneath the hood. It's quite common in the Volkswagen community, because in a Volkswagen, it's really a bummer if your car starts on fire. Does anybody know what a Beetle engine block is made out of? Anybody?
Magnesium.
And what does magnesium do when it's on fire?
Burn.
Yeah, so you know that's what's going to happen in the future. I mean, I'm no expert, but that's what I'm going to do. You know, but don't worry, the power tube's okay. You can still read the sticker that said Ram Air or an O2 Trans Am. So, you know, what was so amazing about this, you don't have to look at this picture, this is just for like visual reference. If you do a history vehicle check on my 2CV, surprisingly, my insurance company did not submit it for a salvage title. So I could like sell it and nobody ever have to know, but if they ran the report, maybe they blow this up real quick. It might not be really. I thought this was great because here's the entry when it happened. vehicle was on fire. Because, you know, here's the thing. Most 2CVs in this country are not titled as what they truly are. And Carfax and these websites don't work on pre-81 cars, but my car's an 86. So you can run the history report. You know, and it's like, and you can see right here from the accident, left rear impact with another vehicle. Minor damage reported. Minor.
$4,500.
You know, and the thing is, when I posted it on Facebook, all these people in Europe were like, well, just pound it out with a hammer. It's like, we would write a car off for that in Denmark. And I'm like, you know what, this isn't Denmark. So, you know, so fast forward to this past January, because I drove the car in New York. It's never come home since, but then it went to Vermont to Trinity Restoration. So here we are getting ready to get my my tail panel replaced. It's kind of, you know, I really wish I could have seen all this in person, but it's kind of cool to still see. And they found some minor rust, as you would expect. But, you know, all things being equal, how many of you have actually seen my 2CV in person? It's many things, but it's really not rusty. It's just a 40-year-old car that I've personally driven 130,000 miles, and who knows how many miles were on it before then.
2 miles.
2 miles.
2.
I've driven more miles in my 2CV than a lot of you have probably driven in the same amount of time. Because I mean, I drive everywhere. I live in Michigan. I've driven my Malibu. I've had for 2 years, 60,000 miles. Well, there's my hood that's getting all recovered. It's like, yeah, I've been through a lot, but I can continue. I'm all good.
So they knocked that up.
Well, it wasn't dented. That's the new hood.
That's the new hood.
I mean, the fire really wasn't. It didn't last for more than a couple minutes. It blistered the paint, but the metal itself is basically fine. Yeah.
I watched a rose grow in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all stripped off. You know, I mean, the only bummer about this is I really wish I could have seen all this in person. I've not seen my car in person since July. And there's my hood, getting all nice and pretty. There's where my battery used to sit, and obviously you can see it's all rusty. It didn't used to be rusty, but battery acid, when a battery explodes, tends to have a certain, to keep it friends, a certain je ne sais quoi. So I'm getting a new stainless steel one from Burton. Oh, that's a complete aside. Burton doesn't actually make those because Clayton just bought one. It says right on it, best plastic parts, which is warranty out of Belgium. So don't think that everything that Burton makes is exclusive to them. There's my poor engine. And what's going to happen, I think the engine is probably okay. Because when I saw it, it still turned over. Basically, most of the fire was like air cleaner back. And that engine's probably going to come home, and the oil didn't seem to have water in it. We'll see what the future holds. The gearbox, I think, is probably okay too. But they always say that the gearbox in 2CV is one of the weaker links. That's the one thing that never broke. I put 130,000 miles in that gearbox. So it's probably going to come home too, and eventually maybe be opened up and see what's going on. Because in the meantime, a few years back, I had my Diane's old gearbox rebuilt. So it's going to go into 2CV. And everybody should have a rebuilt engine and transmission just in their garage, just in case for their car. Did any of you ever have that going on? Yeah. You know, there's a great story. I had a brand new in the crate Burton motor for my 2CV. And I bought it in Utah, the land of the Mormons, as you talked about in your deal, on eBay for $1,300. And I always wondered where it came from. I couldn't wait for it to show up. It showed up as brand new in the crate. But written on it with a Sharpie was FPS West. Who knows who FPS West is? So I messaged Kenji, hey, what's up with this? And he's like, well, that must be the engine that FedEx lost.
I love it.
Yeah. So there's the back, getting all ready to go, and to keep it real, to keep it Carlisle centric and legacy. You might not be able to read it. You could really blow it in. Anybody know what that sticker right there is?
I do.
Yes.
I
So I wanted to keep it real. I only ever met the guy once, but he made an impression.
What's it say?
It says D. Dellinger, Lewisberry, Pennsylvania,
okay.
Renault, Peugeot,
Okay.
Citroen.
Okay.
So there's about the only rust that my car had elsewhere, and that's a common spot. That's where the rear of the front fenders mount. Very common. And it's looked like that the entire time I owned the car, because I always just sprayed it a few times here with fluid film and just called it a day. Well, that's all getting repaired. Actually, it has been repaired now. The car is in paint now, which you'll see soon. And that's the other side. Not as bad, but the same thing. Getting more and more. It's in with good company there. See the other 2CV in the background?
Whose 2CV is that in the back?
I have no idea. It's that Trinity Restoration Shop. I've never actually been to Vermont ever, so I have no idea what's going on there. This could be not, if not for certain visual cues, it could be somebody else's car. But you can see my new welded-in tail panel, OEM, on original tooling from Cassie. I've been told that if you buy the aftermarket one, it's okay, but I was just not in the mood. You know, I wanted it to work, and I'm so sick and tired of stuff not working. How many of you bought car parts that didn't work? And you know, just the other day, yesterday there was a guy gave a speech about his Renault R8 Gordini, and he was talking about all kinds of parts that didn't work, and I'm just like, man, this guy's like my spirit animal, except for his car is rarer than mine. You know, because there a little bit of fire got onto the dash, mostly in this area right here, not so much where the speedometer is. And this is just a kind of a fun thing. That's my insurance premium for the year. And what's hilarious about it, even though in a month's time my insurance company paid out more than I actually had my car insured for, they still lowered my premium by $100 a year. And you can see my fine mix of fine because they care about me, I guess.
Keystroke error.
Yeah, good customer.
Yeah, but isn't that a great mix of vehicles? Lada Niva, Volkswagen Beetle, Super Beetle, Citroen 2CV, Citroen Diane, and of course the centerpiece of the collection, the 1980 Chevrolet Chevette. Here's the thing about that. Everybody in America asks you, you know, Chevette, was it a diesel? Do you realize how few diesel Chevettes were actually made? In many years, it was like 3 digits worth. But yet, seemingly every diesel Chevette that was ever built still exists. And people go, it's amazing. And here's the thing. It all ties together. Does anybody know what car the Chevette was derived from? Any idea?
The Vega?
Opel Kadett. Who owns Opel now? Exactly. We're all the same. And you know, how many of you are Canadians? You, Jay? Well, what was the 2009 Treasure the Hip album called? It was called We Are the Same. So there you go. Gotta work on that. Gotta work on your Canadian. So there it is, and getting in primer. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. These people, if this looks half as good in real life as it does the picture, these people did some miracle work. Those are the original rear fenders, and my original fenders, they weren't rusty, but I wouldn't call them pristine either. You know, they only charged me $1,000 extra to paint the whole car, which, you know, I thought was pretty reasonable. Heck yeah.
So you're gonna have a best 2CV and
Well, here's the
best
thing.
2CV in the film.
Really, though, I almost feel like I need to start the Diane on fire, too. Then I'll really have something going on. And that car, you know.
They'll really lower your insurance.
I think you need to bring up your favorite 3 things. Some of them.
Oh, the Holy Trinity? You see, I have a phrase, it's called the Holy Trinity. These are the 3 things that'll solve almost all things in life. And I've had this way before this ever happened. You burn your house down. You divorce your spouse. You quit your job.
How's that working out for you?
Well, in less than a year's time, I burned my PCB burned. I quit a job. Hey, there's still time. Just saying.
You live in your 2CV, huh?
One of the PSA cards.
Yes, I actually own one of those too. That's a Buick Regal Tourex, but it's called an Opel Insignia everywhere else in the world.
That one's got Opal stickers on it.
Yes.
So who's giving him a ride back to Michigan? Because I think Elaine's now making him walk.
Well, here's the good news. Here's the good news. I heard that there's a certain Citroen parts supplier in the area that might need a helper.
Let me guess, you're gonna be PR, right?
It's gonna be the janitor.
There's my floor.
Custodial engineer.
What do you think that's painted in? It's not paint.
Truck liner?
Yes, thank you.
What?
It's red. It's spray-on truck liner, but it's red. It's been color matched. So yeah, and there's another picture of the same. Several of you may already know about most of this. I always post these pictures on Facebook, but it's interesting. Some of you I only see once a year. So you think that all I do once a year is drive to here and everything goes great. You don't see all the oil and fires and nightmares. I'm like Dave Burnham without the mechanical skill. I mean, there's all kinds of car work that happens. I don't say it's good. Sometimes I have to buy people hamburgers and cigarettes and beer, but
Then at that point, we need a shout out to Mr. Jeff Gray.
Say hello to Mr. Jeff Gray. He's the Marlboro man himself. He's the international man of mystery. Nobody knows more about working on Citroens in Tuscola County, Michigan than him. Well, here's what I'm looking at. That nobody's a bigger parts distributor in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania than you. It's kind of the same difference. Kind and while we're picking on people, nobody knows more about Moto Guzzi's in Philadelphia than Mr. Roland Sotelo. At least I hope so. I know nothing about Moto Guzzi's. I know they're a motorcycle. I've heard that they do. So more primer, yay! Primer, woo! Color match. That was what he sent, because that's my fender that had been repainted, and that was them doing a color match. You can see the stick. But when they originally painted my car, the hood flew open. They're like, you realize this paint's never going to match. And I'm like, that's okay. So I went to DuPont Historical Color Library. They have a great website, by the way. And I found they had scanned the color chip book from 1985, Citroen, and it had Rouge Vallelunga, which is the color. And I said, just paint it off that coat. If it matches it or don't, that's okay, that's whatever. But surprisingly, it was pretty dead on. I was really kind of surprised. And when the car was all wheeled out, it wasn't nearly as jarring as I thought it would be. So we're getting closer, I still can't believe the rear fenders. I can't wait to see them in person, because I mean, they look, somebody actually put effort into this, and it's shocking.
Are you actually going to drive this car when you get it back?
Well, why not? It's been painted once, it can be painted again, can't it? Maybe next time it can get screwed up enough that I can buy a new body. They make them now. I'm just saying. George Washington.
Wait a minute, do they ship?
I got a guy.
There's one in every.
Well, honestly, I do know of at least 2 bodies that have been shipped to North America. So it is a thing. It is possible. The only problem is if you slide a frame underneath it, U.S. Customs will view it as a complete car. And it's not really, it's a screw deal, because realistically, it's a new body, it's a new frame. All of a sudden, it's not an old car. So then they're going to want to have pass crash safety standards. Not a good idea. Don't do that. There's the doors. We're getting toward the end. I didn't want this to be super long, but I want it to be a good time. I still can't believe this. This is like so surreal, because I think the first time I see the car again, it's going to be almost strange to me, because it would be like seeing somebody you haven't seen in like 30 years, and now they're like fat and gray and all that.
It's going to be a trailer queen.
I have a trailer. Here's the ironic twist of fate about that. I own a trailer, but I have no way to tow it. What?
He was leaning on me for the last month. But you need something that's got more power than that Ford Escape. We gotta tow the car.
Well, here's the thing about this. I have a trailer. The Marlboro man has a truck. We just kind of, it's a symbiotic, you know. But I wasn't really feeling taking his truck out here. You know, I'm not, my name's not Gay Bandy. I don't have a truck. You see, this Gay Bandy guy, he's retired from GM, but so is my mom. But the big difference is he lives in the same neighborhood as Mary Barr. Anybody know who Mary Barr is? Unfortunately. CEO of GM. They're like best friends. I mean, you go over there, she's drinking wine. And we know. I'll pick on anybody. I don't care. I'm not very funny. Look at my new rear tail panel that got caved in. All better. Yay. Sexy. Looking good. So we're just about there. And this picture was taken just recently. This is just before it went to a certain young man who looks kind of like Tony Iommi's house. Anybody know who Tony Iommi is? I mentioned him a minute ago. Founder of Black Sabbath. So yeah, get ready to put in the trailer. Yay. So now I'm going to talk about one new modification I'm going to do, and then we'll call it a day. I'm going to put a GM Denzos one-wire alternator on it. And why 90 amp? Why not? It'll kick in at 60 amps at 1500 RPM.
You might burn those wires again. You're going to put new wires.
It's going to have, the old wires are gone. They don't exist anymore. Oh, you know it. You know, we can't all be Marvin McFalls.
Just saying, you don't want another fire.
Oh, dude,
Iron is beautiful.
You know what Judas Priest said in 1997? Friend, liar, time to eat some fire.
What about Beavis and Butthead? They said fire.
I know exactly.
Give it up, Marvin. Cut him down.
So there's my new bracket. That's from VGS.
Oh, we've got one of those.
Yeah, because it came with mine.
What's that for?
My alternator. That's cool. And here's what's interesting about that. You can get that part today from VGS for $35, but they'll charge you $75 shipping.
Oh my God.
So let's talk to our friend here. Who's the other big French, not French, but 2CV guy in Quebec?
You're talking Rick Dean.
Yes, and he is the VGS dealer. So I paid $38 delivered from him. So shout out to Rick. Yay.
Rick's great.
Yes. And there's just a simple wiring diagram of what it looks like. And, the only one you really need is, it's a one-wire alternator. All you need to do is go to the starter. You can wire in a light, but you don't need to. And there's my engine. And Alan kind of twisted my arm. So it's going to have, we're going to zoom in the picture again. That's the eBay engine. But what does that say right there? So we're gonna go high performance, and if this doesn't work out, we'll ring up Rick again, and we'll go bigger because VGS you can go bigger, you can go like 900 cc. I want to be fit. Look at me objectively. I slow a 2CV down. I need all the power I can get. You know what I'm talking about.
Ben, how many crankshafts have you been through in that 2CV?
2 plus one more in the Diane.
Plus one in the Diane?
Yes.
Is it because you're using that Wolf's Head motor oil?
Oh God!
Oh, you know where Wolf's Head
Gauntlet's been thrown.
You know where Wolf's Head motor oil began? I bet you Mr. Brad Noss knows.
Western Pennsylvania.
There we go.
Thank you. But now it's made in my favorite state. And some of you follow me on Facebook what my favorite state is. Where is that, Mark and Amity?
Your favorite state? It's down south. It's in the Sun Belt.
Yes.
It's Florida. Florida, that's it.
Yes! And I think and here's a real short video of my car. pretty much it.
Agreed
You know,
upon value with your insurance company once you get it back.
I will be bumping up the green value on my TCB. And one thing I'd like to point out, I'm going to have one more thing. Make sure that your car has a good agreed value insurance policy. I'm not, everybody always says, oh God, no, Haggerty. Well, I pay half as much as what Haggerty quoted me, and I still get my stuff paid for it. I'll tell you about it later, 'cause I don't want to sound like a shill for an insurance company. But the thing is, make sure your car has good insurance. I cannot believe how many people I talk to at car shows. Oh, I sent my car with whoever, wherever I've got my Malibu with or whatever. No, you need to have good insurance. You need to do that. You need to sometimes be hands-on and get parts for your car. Don't ever accept no. Because if I had accepted, oh, we can't get you a hood for your car, it never would have been on the road again. You need to push the issue. If somebody says, hey, I can't help you, there's always somebody who can help you. But I have nothing more to say. Anybody else want to say anything?
What's the ETA on the car?
I don't know. Jonathan was here a few minutes ago. I didn't ask him because here's my theory on it. I used to work part-time in a restoration shop doing like answer the phones and stuff. When people start pressing people, that's when stuff starts getting slapped together. That's when it doesn't get done right. As long as I see some forward momentum, I'm not going to press the issue. You see, that's my take on it. Because, if I'm like, Alan, fixed my car yesterday. Well, that's when it all gets slapped together. You see what I'm saying? That's just my theory, Anybody else got anything exciting to say?
I want to tell a little tale about how I met this big man.
All right. Take the microphone.
Saddest days, right?
I lived in Finland when I was younger, and that's where my first real experience with Citroens was. My host family picked me up in a brand new 2CV. You'd throw a bag in one side and the car would lean that way, and then you'd throw a bag and it would lean the other way. Then we went bouncing down a little 2-lane road to get to the house. But that's where it started. I saw Acadians over there, and for years I had looked for one because I've had a lot of other vintage cars. But I finally found a Diane that happened to be in Mississauga, Ontario, on eBay. After I met Ben, he tells me he'd known of this car for years, but I didn't think I'd be able to buy it. The guy had a buy it now price on it that I thought was silly. He knew that the brakes didn't work. It had some other issues. It needed a top. It needed an interior, which some of it's been done, but I bought it anyhow. I made him an offer on a Saturday, and on Monday I open up my email and it says, congratulations, seller has accepted your offer. And my heart drops a little because I'm going, what the hell's Lori going to say now?
Remember Holy Trinity.
Yes. But I talked to my dad a couple days later. The folks are living in Florida, and he goes, what are you doing this? I said, well, I just bought a Citroen. First thing he wanted to know is, did you get a D? He was a Ford engineer. A lot of his friends actually drove Citroens, so I saw him around, never had a ride in the big ones. But he says, let me come up there, we're going to make a trip out of it. It was at the last road trip. I did a lot of traveling with my family over the years, and that's the last road trip I had with my dad. We went over to Mississauga, hauled the thing back, had some interesting times at the border. We used to have a ferry that ran across the river at Marine City to Sondra, Canada, which was the best way to get into Canada from Michigan. I think it holds 10, 12 cars, something like that. But about 6 years ago, the Canadian Coast Guard, in their infinite wisdom, broke open the ice and it took out the causeway to the Canadian side landing, and they told the guy that runs the ferry he has to fix it. So we don't have it anymore. He can't afford that. But so I get the car here to Michigan. I figure out what I need to do to solve the brake problem that I was having. Both rear wheel cylinders were leaking. I didn't have all the tools I needed. I was scraping up information, but they were having an orphan car meet, which used to happen regularly in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I told my dad, I don't think that I'll be the only Citroen that shows up, but by God, I'm going to be the only Diane that's on the field. So we get there, we park the car. We're talking to some guy with I think it was a 1917 Chandler, a great big car that was built in Detroit. And enjoying the conversation, when I hear the sound, it sounds just like the engine in my Diane. and we look across the parking lot, and in coming at speed comes this blue Diane making a left turn. It's right-hand drive, so the thing looks like it's going to roll over because Betty Boy's in the front seat. It's like, what the hell? Where did that come from? And we get to talking. We've been good friends ever since that day, actually. But as much as he lives up in the country in a fairly rural area of Michigan, anytime I've driven by Diane and somebody sees one and they're from further north, well, there's a guy up by me that's got a bunch of those, and it's always Ben. He's telling me he drives 100 and some thousand. He's a visible presence up there. So that's the way it started. Then we kind of play tag team sometimes. When he's beating me up because mine needs to get back on the road. So, Mr. Gray, where'd you go? I need your help.
He's right there.
Maybe you can put the wiring that took off of his car onto yours.
And there is no wiring left. And you see, here's the fun thing. When my car got rewired the last time it burned up, it was not wired with a 6-0 harness. I won't make this a Jeff Gray. That was the one time in my life that I was about done. I'm like, I'm scrapping all this shit. I am done. So he went to the auto parts store and talked to Bob of Maydale Automotive thing. You should all shop at Maydale. Actually, Maydale Automotive's for sale for $1.2 million. You too can own Maydale Automotive. But anyway, he's like, oh, I guess we can wire it. So I got a bunch of spools of wire. We rewired the car. I mean, it had like 9 circuits now. You know, because like, it really sucks because it really was wired nice. Obviously, one little thing went wrong, and it went really wrong. But you know what, though? It can happen to anything. And you see, I'm trying to keep this relatively PG, but we're going to have to make it at least PG-13 for a minute. I have a term for this. It's called the bucketing. When this happens, anything's possible. And the thing is, and of course, to create that, what do you have to have the bucketing? You have to have fuckosity. And if you go to urbandictionary.com, a friend of mine actually put an entry, because I created the word, but he wrote the definition. So urbandictionary.com, fuckosity.
That little thing up.
Well, I got nothing more to say. You want to say something there, Champ?
Who does that belong to?
All right.
Who? This is 2CB. And who does it belong to? It keeps on blowing. It keeps
Again,
on
thank you
blowing.
for everybody for showing up today. It was really a great couple days here. The weather couldn't have been better. We were finally due for a good day, and we got it. So Pennsylvania's not all bad, right? So again.